Welcome everyone today to Parenting Toolbox TV, and I'm really delighted to have Liz back with me, but also really delighted to have our guest expert Carolyn Whitehouse joining us today. Now, Carolyn is a money psychologist with over 20 years experiencing helping business owners break through their money blocks. She's also a parent herself and has always struggled with what to know and how to teach her kids about money. And a lot of the time felt she was winging it. I think that's probably how we all feel most of the time. So Carolyn lives in Hampshire, in Andover, and is married to 2 adult children now and has a rescue dog called Leo. So welcome, Carolyn. So I've said a little bit about you, but let's learn more about you as we go through. So I was thinking this morning about the interaction of money and young people today. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because they just seem to tap their phone. They get their phone and they tap it and they buy something. Yeah. Everything is so instant. And I actually haven't had sometimes kids haven't actually physically felt money or even counted those pennies and coins that we were brought up to do. What do you think about that?
I think it's just reinforcing the fact that we really need to start teaching children about money from a very young age. By the time they get to teenagehood and they're tapping with their phone, it's a bit late, really. We need to be teaching children, you're absolutely right, with the physical money, the pounds and the pence. We need to be teaching that at sort of around, I would say, 3 or 4. That sort of age, when they're obviously, you don't want to be giving it to them when they're likely to put it in their mouths.
Yes.
But I'd say about 3 or 4, they start to notice this thing called money. They don't know what it is. They don't know how it relates to them. They don't have any thoughts or feelings about it at that stage. But they start to notice that, mum or dad will go into their wallet and pull out something. And so I think it's really, as time progresses, it's becoming more and more important that children learn about money from a very early age, because there's lots of research to show that actually the way that we handle money when it's in its physical form is very different to the way that we handle money when it's just a tap on the phone. And so when we have a tactile relationship to money, we are much more cautious about spending it, and we value it more. So it's really important that children get that tactile experience with money from a very early age.
Oh, I love that. So Carolyn, thank you as well. Welcome for joining us. But what would you suggest would be a good thing to do to encourage this? I'm going to give you an example of what happened in this house this weekend.
Okay.
Jane stayed with me because we were doing the public speaking event in Manchester. My children were with their dad, and she left. Can I share this, Jane?
Yes, of course you can, because I haven't heard the results of it.
Yeah, because it's so lovely. She left a £5 note under my 12-year-old's pillow because she stayed in her bedroom. And when I got back and my daughter ran upstairs to just go into the room and carry on with her bits, I heard this shriek of delight. And it was like Christmas morning. I'd forgotten about it, Jane. And I thought, what is it, a mouse or something? Oh, it was just because it went, oh! And she ran out and she went, Mummy, look what your friend left. And it was a £5 note. Now, to me, it was as if she'd won the lotto. When she came downstairs, Jane, she was so grateful. And she said, that was so thoughtful. She didn't have to do that. Oh, I'm going to put that aside now. And then she reminded me, because this is one thing I don't do. So it's a 2-pronged thing here. She said, I really want you to start giving me some pocket money, Mum.
Oops, sorry, Liz.
But we have been discussing this, and I have been looking into, I was going to ask you about it actually, Carolyn. We've been looking into whether to do things on Revolut or on Monzo, or whether to just physically withdraw money and give. So I think there's the first part of what I was going to say was like Roisin's reaction to the money kind of anchors what you're saying about the importance of just holding it. Yeah. But secondly, would you recommend for pocket money that we start to give children actual notes, or what would be your best advice there?
I think it depends on the age that you start at.
Right.
But I also think it doesn't, in some ways, it doesn't really matter the age that you start at. I know that contradicts itself, but
Yeah.
I think for children who have not had that experience of having cash and the tactile understanding of what money is and what it's worth, I think even if they're teenagers, it's worth doing the pocket money as cash.
Yeah.
Because it also makes it really easy for you to have a conversation about money. Then you haven't got to have access to their bank account. You don't need to know anything off their phone. There's nowhere to hide it. You know, it is a cash transaction. And I think that gives you a really easy inroad to a conversation about money and about where your child's spending their money, what they're doing with it. That's a lovely example of how money can be used for, you know, to make somebody else feel wonderful and to say thank you. And
Yeah.
and
it's that transaction, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah, transaction. That's what it's there for. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. It reminds me of...
sorry, Liz, carry on.
I was just going to say...
I was just going to say...
Go on, Liz. At least we get so excited. I was going to say, it reminds me of, because I'm Irish, I come from a huge Irish family. Anytime the aunties came, anytime my mother, so these are my experiences with cash as a child. My aunties or my nanas or my, coming and saying, take this now, don't tell your mother. And they'd push like a note into my hand. And then there's also the fights that my mum used to have with my aunties whenever they'd be, in a restaurant. No, don't you put her money's no good here. You take my money. And they'd be fighting over the notes to pay. And that instilled in me my own generosity that I've, inherited from my family and my mom and especially the women, I think, in the family for that reason. Yeah. But yeah, the whole beauty of holding cash, giving cash, and it's a huge tradition in the Irish culture, giving cash. Mm-hmm. So I like to continue that. And I like that you said that. But Jane, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, money is a transactional thing, isn't it? And it makes the world go round. And it is about, yes, we need to save and spend and save and all that other stuff which comes in, doesn't it, Carolyn? Yeah. And I'm sure we'll touch on that. Even with kids, as parents, it's like, teaching them to save from an early age. But actually, it's what makes the world go round. I mean, for the example that I played, your daughter was gorgeous. She'd sprayed beautiful perfume in the room. She tried to make it nice for me, She'd made an effort. She didn't go, she wasn't complaining that I was in her bedroom, which was amazing. And all her teddies were nicely, is it always that neat and tidy? Because my daughter's isn't. But she'd made an effort. And so it was just my way, because I wasn't going to see her. I left her a little note and did that. So it's just, she was making my life easier. And so it was like, let's just, so it is about just making the world go round, isn't it, really, at the end of the day?
It is. And it brings us on to an important distinction, actually, that money is an exchange of emotion.
Yeah.
Now, let me just clarify that, because what happened in that example was she put her effort and her energy into making the room nice. So she was giving an emotion, a welcoming emotion to you. And then in exchange, you gave the gratitude emotion back.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whenever we're dealing with money, and this is where the tapping on the phone can be really deceiving, because children need to understand that money is part of an exchange. So yes, they get a product or a toy or something for it, but there's also an exchange in terms of as a parent, your hard work, your your whatever you've done to earn that money. Hard work is another topic we'll come on to in a minute, because it's not necessarily hard work anymore to earn money. But yes, it's an exchange, and that's what children need to understand. It's an exchange of emotion, And so whenever you're giving money, you want to be just checking in, how am I feeling as I'm giving this money? Am I giving it because I'm resentful, because I'm angry, because I'm trying to, because I'm scared of something? Yeah. Or am I giving it because I'm grateful, I'm pleased, I want to show compassion to somebody?
I love that. And I've written that down because I've got my own money blocks. Now, I'm going to tell you, as a single mom who's moved away from a 2-parent family with quite a nice income over the past few years, and on top of that, who has just set up her own business over the past year or so, I'm getting to a stage where money can be really, really stressful. So I love when you talk about the emotion that we attach to it. Now, I try when I have to pay bills. Let's give an example of my daughter's, when we spoke about this at length this weekend, Jane, fees for her dancing. She loves dancing. It brings her joy. It brings us joy to see the joy that she gets from it. And I love the fact that her dance teacher is this young girl who is an entrepreneur just like us. And I'm so impressed by what she's doing and how she's growing her business. And I don't resent giving it. But when things are very tight, I feel this physical pain when I exchange or the stress of thinking, how am I going to pay January's fees? How am I going to find that money? And I know that that's not a healthy place to be, to try and keep, as Jane, you were saying, that flow coming. And when I find it very easy to give and to embrace and to give with gratitude and to bless the money I put out into the world when I'm a little bit more secure. But when I'm feeling a bit fearful and a bit worried myself, and I don't like that energy, I do find that energy very challenging, and it's not the vibe that I want to create, because I know the more I raise my spirit and my vibe and my energy, the more the good stuff does come.
Yeah.
But I'm constantly at the moment, I think, on a bit of a tightrope when it comes to keeping that balance of energy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a question in there or is it just a statement, but seeing that you're an expert, you might be able to give me some guidance maybe.
Yeah. And this is where the mindset piece becomes so important, because it's actually a mindset that you're experiencing, Liz, not the physical situation. And this is what I say to business owners, to basically anybody who'll listen to me, is it's a scarcity mindset. It's not actually around money. Money is part of it. But if you look in your life, you will see that scarcity mentality, that scarcity mindset turning up in lots and lots of different places. Now, it will be things like around time. If you're saying to yourself, I don't have enough time, that's a scarcity mindset. If you're saying to yourself, I'm not spending enough time with my child, my child's not getting the benefit of being with me, that's a scarcity mindset. So there's scarcity. The way that your brain thinks in terms of abundance and scarcity is going on throughout your life. It's not just around money. And
so I find that.
Can they run parallel then?
Yeah.
So are you tending to be that kind of person
you can have scarcity in some areas of your life and abundance in other areas of your life.
Yeah, because that's what I would challenge that slightly, because I am aware of scarcity and there was a time, and I would agree that I did have a real scarcity mindset, and I come from working class family, first to go to university. I've always struggled, to get to the spaces where I inhabit now. But I think I've worked so hard on that. I've worked so hard on, the abundance and really, taking back my control of my time. So, going part-time when I was teaching, being very guarded and boundaried about, my time. But now that you mention it, and I'm saying it out loud, since I've started my business, you've got a point, because that boundary that I've been able to put in when I've been in somebody else's employment, and I've been very vocal about doing it for other teachers and being an advocate for people, I can't seem to do for myself. Because on the back of what we've just done this weekend, Jane, it took us a lot of energy to prepare and to travel and to go to a weekend away to deliver for the public speaking. And there's a lot of that going on in business that you can't control. So you do have a point there about the scarcity mindset with time.
And where the scarcity turns up as well is this belief around it has to be hard to earn money. So we put a block into how much we're allowed to receive. Because what you said earlier was, I'm okay giving it. Like, I'm okay to be grateful and show my appreciation, and I can do that. But there's a block in receiving. And so that always comes back to, what do I deserve? And how easy or hard is it for me to earn money?
Yes.
Because we came from a culture, or we've come from backgrounds, particularly, you know, in our generation, where you did have to work hard to earn money. It's not true anymore. You only have to look at social media for that. And you know, I have a friend who recently started getting paid to do ads, and she's like, I can't believe this. I really can't get my head around it. Because the way that we grew up was, you have to work hard for money. And I think as a parent, that's something that we really need to get our heads around, because the younger generation, my children included, my children are now 20 and 25, but they very much have this attitude of, it's easy to make money. Now, hopefully I played some part in that, but I think also it's part of this those generations that are coming up that are seeing how easy it is to make money.
Just find an idea and run with it, isn't it? Almost.
I love that. I do love that, and I am doing that. But maybe it's my impatience, because I find if I don't have the physical evidence coming into the bank account, then I start to panic, and maybe that's my fear-based scarcity mindset.
So what's happening is, your nervous system is seeing the numbers on the screen and going, you know, and that's setting off that stress response. The stress response means that you're into scarcity, you're fearful, you're anxious, it's counterintuitive, but actually when you see your bank account online and you see it going down, you know, every day or every week, the counterintuitive thing is to relax, right? The intuitive thing, what your nervous system says is, oh my God, the money's, you know, it's disappearing, right? And you need to take action. And you do need to take some action. I'm not saying you can just, you know, keep getting yourself lower and lower and then into debt. But the counterintuitive thing is to relax and to help your nervous system to understand that that's just a number on a screen, right? The meaning that you give to it is coming from you. It's coming from your brain. That is just a number. And I had to do this myself, Liz. So I know how difficult this is. But I tell you, if you can start to relax every time you see that number, you help your body to relax. What happens is, eventually there is no response to the number.
Can I just ask though, because you say that, and say I'm into my overdraft again, which is a very common thing at the moment and it's happening. And my son, and I'm trying to focus on relaxing, and my son comes in and says, can we start ordering my Christmas presents, Mum? And my daughter comes in and says, I've just sent you the links for the things I would like for Christmas, Mum. And by the way, the show is next week and I need a new costume. And the kids come and say, can we have a fire tonight? And I think, actually, a fire is going to cost 16 quid to get, you know, it's that basic at the moment.
Yeah.
How can I come back? Because then it escalates again.
Yeah. And again, I think this is something that's very different to our generation as parents to our parents' generation. So when I was growing up, it was quite normal for parents to say, well, get yourself a newspaper round, get yourself a part-time job, get yourself, some form of income.
Yeah.
Now, that has dropped off a little bit. But I think we've also got to the point of almost saying to ourselves, well, it's wrong for children to be working.
No, actually, my son is 17 and he has
Yeah.
just stopped working because he's doing his A-levels and he's
Right.
doing maths. But to be fair to him, the past year he really did shoulder the burden of
and my daughter's up at 7 every Sunday down at the little cake shop working. So and that has been not by us pushing her, but actually her peers.
Yeah,
the kids she hangs around with, they all have little
Great.
jobs. So
I think that's something that we're both really keen to instill in them, aren't we, Jane? But
definitely.
I see your point. But is it expectations, Carolyn?
It is. It's very much about managing those expectations. And one of the things we need to be teaching children from when they're very small is the difference between a need and a want.
Yes.
Because actually what they need is usually free. If you think about it, what they need is sleep, attention, time, love, space to run around. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Yeah. But also they need to realize it's okay to want. Now, I think, again, previous generations, it's been very much shutting down your wanting. We can't afford it, therefore you mustn't want.
Yes.
Whereas I would encourage you and the people watching to say, okay, if you want something, first of all, distinguish, is it a want or a need?
Yes.
Right? Is it, have a look at past experiences when they've bought things. Is it something that they've bought and then played with it once and it's gone in the charity box?
Yes.
Right? Are they able to distinguish between just reacting to the advertising and is it something that they really want? Because that is a key point in itself, is your children are bombarded by advertising, right?
And peer pressure.
Yes.
And they change their mind so quickly, don't they, about what they wanted. But actually, but yesterday it was that, and now it's this. It's like, whoa, even we get confused with it.
So it's not just about having conversations about money. It's also having conversations about what is triggering them to want things. And this gets into really interesting conversations as your children get older around body image and, gender and all sorts of conversations because of what's advertised. And so I started with my teenagers to talk about what are the adverts that they're watching? What are they seeing? What's the underlying message? What is that advert trying to do? And getting them to understand the psychology behind it and understand that they're being manipulated. Their brains are being triggered in ways that they're not aware of to want that particular thing.
And do you know what I think is really quite sinister is I love social media for a number of brilliant reasons, but what I find is the increasing role of influencers who do it. It's very nuanced. It's very, very subtle.
Yes.
But suddenly my 12-year-old comes downstairs demanding that drunk elephant stuff or whatever it is that's the latest fashion. And I'm thinking, where has she? I don't have this stuff. Where has she got it from? Where did this need? And when you go into Boots and you see droves of tween girls, not teenage girls even, Jane. They're not even the same age as your daughter. They're getting younger and younger. And that's not from television or advertising. That's from, social media. And that influence, so it can be very, very subtle.
Very subtle, yes.
Yeah.
And again, this is why the younger we can start having these conversations with our children, the more understanding they will get. And the more, I'm very much, with my children, it was very much about, okay, so you want this. okay, and you really do want it, and it's something that's important to you. I can't, I don't have the money for that. So how can you create the money for that? How can you generate the money for that? And giving them ideas about the sorts of, again, it's about promoting entrepreneurship, right? Taking responsibility. If you want that, then okay, how are you, I will support you, I will help you, but how are you going to make that happen?
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. I think, would you advise for, say, the 12-year-old, because the 17-year-old, he's nearly 18, and he's chosen not to work for a while he can focus on his studies, and I admire him for that, because it was quite, because he was getting nice on the weekends. But equally, he spent way over the odds on a Glastonbury ticket this weekend from somebody who's a friend of a friend, and I'm talking like £800 or something.
Oof.
And he said to me, it made me feel physically sick. And I didn't know how to respond to this, but I was obviously outraged. And I thought, how I respond. And he said, I know you're outraged. And I was, and I am, because I think, if you're not going to get it at face value, then you're being manipulated by the touts. And there's a whole other story to that. And also it's the expectations that you have at the age of 17 years, that you can actually spend this money on this wonderful milestone event after your A-levels. Fantastic. But that amount of money, you'd be able to get a ticket to go around the world. And he will say to me, I don't have the same values as you, Mum. All of my friends are doing this. This is what we do. This is how we do our things. What do you say to that? Where would you go with that, Carolyn?
Okay, so what I would say to him is, if he felt physically sick,
I felt physically sick. He didn't.
He didn't. He was okay.
He's thrilled.
Okay. So the thing is, we have, as adults, we have that ability to look back with hindsight and see what we should have done. We have that ability, because of our brains are fully developed, to be able to delay that gratification. They can't at that age, right? It made you feel physically sick. If it's okay with him, right, then maybe that's what he has to do. Maybe the lessons from that are actually what will happen in the next 6 months or the next 12 months.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And then he will be able to look back and say, maybe that wasn't the best use of money. Because and the key thing for you as a parent really is to stay strong, and to not, when he comes in 6 weeks' time and says, oh, I want this, but I don't have the money for it, can I have the money from you? The key is to stay strong and say, well, no.
Brilliant.
Told you so.
No.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I nearly died. Yeah.
That's what you spent your money on. Because I know a lot of parents, and I've done this myself, you feel guilty because maybe it's he's got a hole in his shoes, or maybe he needs something where everybody else is going and he's going to be the odd one out. But this is how we learn the value of money, and the fact that we only have a certain amount of money, and what's gone, it's gone.
This is it. Thank you for that, because that's
so he's starting to learn his life lessons, isn't he, through this?
Absolutely. These are all life lessons. And I would say that the key thing, Liz, is to not make him feel guilty or ashamed for doing what he did.
Yeah. I might need to have another chat with him then.
But at the same time, I should wait. Just keep your ears open for that, Mom, I haven't got enough money. And then you'll be able to relate it back to what he's just done.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, Jane, I hijacked it a bit, but I've got so much to
I mean, it's great. You've had your session, your counselling session, Liz. It's been amazing. But I am absolutely sure there will be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of parents out there recognizing this. But I love that bit, just about the numbers going down and not to panic, because that's when we get into fight or flight, isn't it? The body takes over. And then we can't think rationally. So we can't make any decisions around things. Yeah. So here, Liz, I say to you, bring it down, think rationally about it. Yeah.
I like that. Carolyn, do you do anything like have a meditation that you do or a mantra that you do? Because I'll give you an example. A counselor once gave me this, and I give this to students and to clients and to everybody I work with. It's just 3 little phrases. I am safe. All is well. Everything is happening for my highest good. If I get into a bit of a panic, and it just helps me to, get down. And I know I could approach my finances with the same one, but do you have anything? I know I'm just kind of asking you off the cuff here. Is there anything that you could recommend?
Well, it is all about safety, Liz.
Yeah.
So because what happens is when you see those numbers, your body goes into fight and flight. It doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
Right. And so all of those sentences that you just said, you could use for your money. In fact, what I do with a lot of clients is, it's safe for me to have money, right? It's safe for me to earn more money than I spend.
Love it.
It's safe for me to have the business that I want.
Yes.
Right. Bring that word safety in, because it is all about safety. You see, I mean, this, our biology is that, millions of years old. It wasn't designed to react appropriately to money. So it reacts to the emotions and the meaning that we give money. Right. And so if we can take back that meaning and we can feel safe, things start to happen. Because think about it, when children are very small, when they're sort of 3-4 years old, they are absolutely powerful, right? They can do anything, they can say anything, they can, the world is their oyster, and they are completely powerful, right? And then we start to lose that.
Yeah. Strip it away. Yeah.
We learn from parents, we learn from society, from school, from peers, that we're not that powerful. So we need to start taking some of that back.
Yeah.
Amen. Remembering who we are. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And not getting triggered by those evolutionary responses, which, they were there to help us to fight off lions and tigers and all the things that were going to kill us. But we're not in that situation anymore, but our bodies are still reacting the same way.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I can safely say this has been an incredible session. I've learnt loads. It's been really, really, really good. So Carolyn, thank you for joining us. I'm sure there's so many more things we could have covered, and maybe if you're free to join us again, we'd love to have you.
We'd love to have you back.
There are so many topics that we can cover here.
Honestly, I feel a lot calmer. And I'm going to have a different approach to my finances. I'm going to check in with you in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
And we'll see where we've got to. But
sounds good.
I am safe. I do feel safe. So thank you very much, Carolyn. Thank you for your expertise and your just wealth of knowledge. It's been amazing today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.